Yandere Dev, the YouTuber developing the highly anticipated indie title Yandere Simulator, has received support from millions of fans. Once being a game that found praise from YouTube's biggest celebrities, Yandere Simulator would turn from one of the most ambitious indie projects of the past decade to a piece of internet obscurity. Let's uncover the dark world behind Yandere Dev and explore why his game failed and the likely scam that allowed this YouTuber to profit off child predator allegations. In 2014, a man named Alex Mahan, 26 at the time, would take an interest in video game development. Inspired by Skullgirls, an indie fighter game, Alex saw the potential to succeed as an indie game developer and decided to make a similar game titled Lunar Scythe. He promoted the game on the Skullgirls forum in hopes of getting some positive feedback and got the attention of multiple community members, including the creator of Skullgirls himself, Mike Zymon. He enthusiastically showed his inspiration in his new game, and I must make one thing clear. This isn't Alex's rise to glory, but instead a villain origin story. Mike absolutely tore the game apart. Initially trying to offer constructive criticism, Alex quickly showed his fragile ego and began getting defensive, claiming that Mike was being rude because he didn't like his game. Eventually, this argument escalated to the point where Mike was actually being understandably insulting, claiming that Alex has no idea about the fundamentals involved in game development. Being insulted by the exact man that inspired his project, Alex was torn. He was so bent on rage that he actually abandoned his game in favor of a new plan: revenge. He was determined to create a game that would become so popular there would be no debate who was the better developer. Alex was a fan of the Japanese archetype known as Yandere, which describes a character whose love and admiration for another is so strong they become absurdly obsessive and often violent. A game called Doki Doki Literature Club is one of the most famous examples of this. Building on this theme, Alex began the development of a game called Yandere Simulator, which describes itself as a stealth-based game about stalking a boy and secretly eliminating any girl who has a crush on him, while maintaining the image of an innocent schoolgirl. He created a YouTube channel called Yandere Dev where he would post devlog videos documenting the status of this game and new features being added during development. Following the trope, you basically play as a schoolgirl who kills other schoolgirls in bizarre ways. Certainly an interesting concept, however one that played very well for YouTube content. Alex released a demo of the game and the internet was quickly interested, with the largest YouTube celebrities at the time being ones that played bizarre games such as PewDiePie and Markiplier. Yandere Simulator found its way on their channel, resulting in many videos with millions of views. This kickstarted Yandere Dev's initial audience and spawned many dedicated followers who wanted one thing: a full release of the game. To help support this, many ambitious players offered to help volunteer and aid in the development of Yandere Simulator. However, what many people didn't know was this was already the beginning of the end. Alex would accept the help, however he wasn't the kindest person to those willing to sacrifice their time for his project. He has often been found asking volunteers to make assets for the game and insulting them if the product wasn't exactly how he envisioned. Very ironic considering the fuel that Skullgirls gave Alex to begin with. This ultimately led volunteers to either be pushed away from helping or leaving by their own free will. While people like this came and went, Alex for the most part remained the sole developer responsible for Yandere Simulator. Despite his rude nature and social backlash, the community for the game continued to thrive. To give credit where credit's due, Alex was certainly making a game that a lot of people wanted to play. The Yandere Dev YouTube channel would grow parallel to this, reaching 1 million subscribers by 2016, only 2 years after creating the channel. Alex would make almost weekly updates to the game, showcasing new features he planned to add. However, people began to notice something. The game was turning really creepy. Not creepy in the sense of what you do, considering being an obsessive stalker is what the game is all about, but additions to the game that served no purpose other than Alex being a pervert. He became oddly interested in finding different ways to showcase the female character's panties. This first started when people began to notice and complain that the female characters had awfully short skirts. Alex would give a few reasons for this, ultimately saying that since this was a fictional world, any number of excuses could be pulled out of thin air to make this seem normal. Then, Alex implemented a feature that allowed the character to stealthily take pictures of other characters' panties in the game, to which Alex again defends this, saying many other games have this option as well. Finally, Alex wanted to implement an inventory feature that allowed you to see the contents of your inventory from within the character's skirt. He started a poll asking if people liked this idea and whether or not they wanted the panties to be censored. While many people did like the idea, they also preferred the panties not be shown, to which Alex was not happy. He made a blog post stating that he will appease his audience this one time and censor the panties, but this will not become a habit. He continues to whine about how he won't sacrifice his creative vision because others find it offensive. So now you might be asking, why is this offensive? Or maybe not, considering that this is sexual assault, but the real cherry on top is that Yandere Simulator takes place in a high school with high school students. Similar to the short skirt complaint, Alex defends this by saying that this was a fictional world where all high school students are 18 years or older. People weren't too supportive about sexualizing underage children, so this wasn't getting brushed off like the skirt incident, and led people to look more into Yandere Dev. Who the hell was this guy that people were mindlessly following build a game? It wasn't long before people found that Alex went by many aliases in the early days of the internet. Ava Zephon and Not Depressed Anymore being some of the few were very active in many early internet forums. Just as expected, he was the same creep then as he is now. Many times he would be found making posts on the Gaia online forums talking about women he saw throughout the day, sexualizing them and asking others to join in the discussion. He can also be found making very controversial remarks saying disabled people shouldn't be allowed to live, and him wishing he could murder his own parents. I think one of the worst was him defending a man who sexually assaulted his dying stepdaughter. It makes me sick even talking about it, and what's worse is that things get much darker from here. Alex was found to have a disgusting obsession with sexual assault. He owned a Twitter account named Video Game Babes, which talked about characters in video games he was attracted to. His last post was in 2014, which said, "Japan has produced yet another game about fondling underage anime girls. All praise the glorious Japan." Digging deeper, forum posts were uncovered from a user named Neon Ava Zephon, likely Alex, asking for help in a game called Rapeplay, a game that's literally centered around sexually assaulting an entire family, one of which is an underage girl. Taking this even further, Alex's fanfiction account was uncovered on fanfiction.net, which featured multiple original stories, some of which centered around children being sexually assaulted. I highly recommend not reading these, as they can get very descriptive and made me feel beyond uncomfortable. More and more disgusting and vile posts were discovered until what happened next became the least bit surprising: Alex's child grooming allegations. A girl who goes by SisF came forward and claimed that she engaged with Alex sexually when she was only 14. Alex, being 21 at the time, would stream often under his Ava Zephon alias. SisF was a young viewer who was very open about her age and gender. Once Alex found out she was female, he would begin to give her more attention. Being in middle school at the time, the naive SisF welcomed this, as the attention made her feel special. They exchanged information and began to form a more personal relationship. According to SisF, Alex would request nude photos from her and to engage sexually on Skype, to which SisF obliged. Alex would defend himself by saying that since he was homeschooled, he had missed out on the experience of dating girls in high school, and this was the perfect opportunity to make up for that. SisF would correct Alex, saying that she was actually in middle school, to which Alex responded, "Same difference." Unfortunately, SisF was unable to provide any evidence to support these allegations, leaving this as a he said, she said situation. However, with the overwhelming amount of schmut that Alex left on the internet, SisF's claims were well supported and put Alex in a very troubling spot. While Alex's reputation was all but destroyed, he still remained a large and growing internet presence on YouTube. Similar to ways that Kanye West is still supported despite his vast controversies, many subscribers weren't actually subscribed for Alex, but instead for the game he was creating. At this point, the game has been in development for 3 years and still only released a demo with no finish in sight. In fact, development even seemed to slow down, with once weekly devlogs now turning into monthly. Luckily, many fans who wanted Yandere Simulator to release and to finally move on from Alex, hope was in sight. A company known as TinyBuild, publisher of Hello Neighbor, offered to partner with Alex and help progress the game. Alex accepted, however, soon after released a statement saying that the support from TinyBuild had been cut off due to development differences. He wrote an article detailing how it was almost impossible for TinyBuild to help refactor the game's code in a way that allowed Alex to still continue development. He claimed that the decision to split was mutual, however, emails were leaked between the two that proved otherwise. In a very aggressive chain of emails, Alex complains that TinyBuild's developer was rewriting code in a way that Alex couldn't understand. He wanted to back out of the agreement because of this. However, the termination clause attached with the contract required that Alex owe $31,000 to TinyBuild. In what is best described as an email tantrum, Alex rambled on for multiple paragraphs expressing how TinyBuild only impacted the project negatively, and even threatened to slander TinyBuild on his YouTube channel, sitting at 2.5 million subscribers at the time. With Hello Neighbor yet to release, and fear of this controversy affecting the game negatively, TinyBuild complied and terminated their agreement, free of charge. This understandably upset the community, as the game has been in development for far too long. Alex has had an army of volunteers willing to help, and a game publisher who could take this project to new heights. How was Alex this comfortable continuously pushing away support and taking so long to finish the project? And then for the community, it finally clicked. Alex never wanted to finish. The Yandere Dev YouTube channel has reached over 500 million views, which equates to millions of dollars worth of ad revenue. On top of this, the Yandere Dev Patreon was earning $5,000 per month in support for the game. It seemed as if building the game slowly was actually earning much more revenue than finishing. To help prolong the release, he wrote multiple updates on his website claiming that the drastic decline in development was due to the amount of hate he was receiving after his many controversies. Yet he was still receiving the same amount of money each month through his Patreon. He literally used his grooming allegations as a reason to slow progress and steal money from his supporters. He also said that he had too many emails from his viewers, claiming that he spent 8 to 12 hours per day reading emails, which I can't even take seriously by how ridiculous that sounds. Many people were donating time and money for a project that Alex was barely creating, and soon it was found that his Patreon wasn't even supporting Yandere Simulator. Alex was found spending money from his Patreon funds to buy a second Nintendo Switch so he could make a new Animal Crossing world. Unbelievably, worse than this, he also used his Patreon funds to commission a realistic sex doll that he could dress up like Samus from Metroid. He denies this, however, it was found that the account that posted these photos was linked to an old Ava Zephon email address. Not only was he scamming his audience, he was using the money that he stole to fuel his perverted endeavors he's become so infamous for. These were only a few purchases that actually leaked, so I can only imagine what other personal items Yandere Simulator actually supported. The entire thing is just disgusting, and for many subscribers, this was the last straw. It should be noted that Yandere Dev never promised fast development, so you can't completely blame him for his audience having moderate and realistic expectations. However, many supporters would not let this charade continue any longer. From 2018 to 2023, the Yandere Dev Patreon has dropped from earning $5,000 per month to only $1,500. Still, in my opinion, a gracious donation to this scumbag. He almost completely abandoned the Yandere Dev YouTube channel, as his last video was 7 months ago. However, he's still working on Yandere Simulator, with monthly updates on the game's development being featured on his website. His online growth has since halted, and his internet presence has all but diminished, leaving him as the disgusting online pervert who profited off his predator allegations.
Omega Yas, girl slay.